Yeah, we have one two of the reads. If you go into his Blackboard.
All right. I'm just letting the projector warm up. So here's how I'm going to teach today. I'm going to give you a class today. Take next week off.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a mic drop. No, I'm okay. Thank you. Okay, so I promise you though, after next week, we're full steam and we have no looking back. So we're probably going to pick up the pace a little bit. I'm just waiting on this thing to go. So let's see. Are we up at all? No? Okay. So one of the things that I noticed was kind of a disturbing trend after the midterm was everybody's expression, or not everybody's, but I had a lot of people express that they felt there were trick questions. So they overthought things. Is that something that's really prevalent in this program, where you're getting trick questions during tests and things? Like not this program, like this class, but no?
There's been a couple that I've been like humming and hawing.
Yeah.
They can mean it this way, but they can also mean it this way. And I've just picked one and then.
Wished you had picked the other one?
But I think the reason why I asked you specifically, if it wasn't a straight trick question, I think in the example, I don't think there was enough information given to not have that question as to whether or not you actually get an output in that thing or not.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Because it looked like there was parameters being passed inside the function.
All right.
And I couldn't tell whether that was real, right or not.
Okay, here's my commitment to you guys. For I think we've got 2 more tests in this class, I think. My commitment to you is, first off, I've been where you guys all are. Okay, I've walked your walk right down to when I walked into my first programming class. I had never touched Java before, so I was kind of sitting where you were, and I commit to you that I will never give you a trick question. All right, if you feel like it's a trick question in the exam, simply ask. Just put up your hand and say, hey, can you explain this question to me? And I think that what'll happen then is you'll go, oh, either I'll go, oh, okay, I should tell the class this and let everybody know, or I might give you some clarity. And I think that'll help. This did work for a moment.
Turned on for a second.
Oh, wait a minute. That's why probably. There we go. All right. Intro to web programming. All right. Well, it's more C#, but anyhow. Okay. So feedback from you guys on the test. Was it brutal? Was it challenging? Was it easy?
I'd say it's challenging for me because I got the coding and stuff that you're teaching us. I'm getting that mixed up with what Scott's teaching us. So I'm sitting there, it's like, I was like first coding question, I'm like, oh, I got this. Blazed through it and looked at it and went, wait a minute. When I got to question 20, I was like, oh, son of a, some code right there. It's like, go back, and then all of a sudden the brain just goes.
So what's the strategy for that, do you think?
I don't know.
Practice, 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 practice. You're going to come into these brick walls where you're going, well, I've got this, and then you find out that you're coding in the wrong language.
Exactly. That's, I mean, just for me, it's just trying to get
that's the nature of the beast. Yeah.
Separated.
Because I think next semester you're going to be you're also running multiple IDEs and everything else. So enjoy that one next semester. But no, there is a challenge. And the only thing I can recommend is just before the exam, practice what we've done in class. Go over it, recode it. Check out my videos and like and share it. No, just kidding. Anyhow, check out the videos and go over what we've done again, because 9 times out of 10, most of my questions are going to be based on what we've done in class. And the wording might change a little bit, or the idea might change, but the background functionality is the same. Okay, anyone else?
Were there any like midterm questions that a good chunk of people all got wrong?
Well, I'm going to go over that. Don't steal my thunder. Mark down immediately. No, I'm going to go over some of the areas that I was concerned about. There were some questions, and the majority of them were your math questions were what tripped you up. Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to talk about all of that today. So for those of you who are at that point, today is going to be kind of a review of what we've done, because we've had so much time off. Well, we haven't had so much time off, but we had the week of the exam off, then we had the last week and next week. So it's going to be a bit of a review. But for the assignment as well, what we're going to do is I'm going to be going over an in-class exercise. Pay attention to it. It's not going to be identical to your assignment, but it might help you with your assignment. All right. Some of you have already submitted, and thank you for that. I'm not going to mark them until everyone's done, though. So anyhow, so all that being said, assignment number 1. This is due 21st, which is a Sunday. So what I tried to do was get it so that you were submitting it just before your reading week. So that way you've got the reading week that you can kind of just put your feet up and enjoy the ride, or finish other assignments. So what I'm going to do, and again, there's nothing that I'm asking that I haven't already touched in class. Actually, there is one thing, but we're going to be touching on that today. So what you've got to do is you've got to take 6 marks and create a grade center. What you're doing is when you enter the marks, you basically, so say for example, it's a 92 and beside it's going to be an A and things along those lines. So you're actually converting the mark to a letter grade. All right. Now, anyone have an idea? No, you know what? I'm not going to do it that way, because if you don't have an idea, then I'm giving those people an unfair advantage. All right. So that's your goal on how you're going to do it. The application must calculate and display the overall average. And we're going to talk about the math. Pay attention to the math, because I was really concerned about it in the test, because I was looking going, oh, okay, I thought that we would have been there, but I guess that, did you guys write a math equivalency test to get into the program? Okay. All right. So we're going to go over BEDMAS, or now I learned a new one. It's no longer BEDMAS, it's PEDMAS as well. If you're in university, it's PEDMAS, it's parentheses. Now we're higher education. So anyway, so we're going to go over BEDMAS. I'm going to give you some questions in class, work them out. We're going to talk about it, explain how we got there. So that way, when you're doing the assignment, you're not dividing the wrong number and going, oh, wow, was that ever wrong? Okay, so you've got that. You've got to convert it to the letter grade beside each text box. And it must calculate 1 overall letter grade for the student's entire academic career. Okay, now I've also included a sample of what I'm looking for. So in the back of it, you'll see this is the screenshot of what you're going to want to try to accomplish. Okay, so does it now, here's the first question. Does it have to be exactly like the one that I'm showing you? No. If you want to have some fun, you guys are web developers. If you know how to change it a little bit or make it more visually interesting, as long as the labels are there, the text box are there, and the conversions there, I'm a happy guy. Now, yeah.
So how you said we can make it look nice.
Yeah.
We actually add our own courses, so instead of like grade 1, 2, 3, we do courses.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, I'm not the type of marker that's going to go, well, you didn't follow every letter of this assignment, but as long as it accomplishes what we need it to do, absolutely. And then you can use it going forward and say, hey, what's my overall average? Enter them in, and away you go. And then after this semester, you can also add on to it and say, okay, well, this was my first semester's mark, and then this one, and then work out a calculation to give you your weighted average overall. All right. So, and then we've also got in the back of it, we have the rubric. Now, the rubric is going to, the way that I handled the rubrics was I always looked at the end column and went, what is the most that is expected of me? Then if you run out of time, or if you run out of whatever, or the insight, whatever, then you can start going, okay, you know what? I can gauge roughly where I am. So if you do run out of time, or at least if you run out of your know-how, send me an email. I reply pretty quickly to emails. I have my phone on my hip, and I'm one of the few instructors that actually have my Georgian account on my phone. So send me an email. If you send it to me at 2 o'clock in the morning, you may not get a sunny disposition or my cherub-like demeanor. But after that, I will usually try to help you out as best as possible. If not, we'll set up a time where we can sit down and go over it. Okay? Are there any questions on the assignment? Yep.
My understanding is that there are multiple ways to do it.
Yep.
There's a concise way and there's a very long way.
Mm-hmm.
I can see there being a little bit more marks being allotted to somebody who can figure out how to make it very concise and neat.
Mm-hmm.
But if it functions properly, but it's, say, the long way around, is there any penalty?
What's the name of this course? Intro to Computer Programming. I don't expect everyone to be able to work with arrays and things along those lines yet. I don't expect people to be writing to your database or anything like that. I want you to achieve the end goal. If you're bloating your code, yes, there's going to be a concern, and we'll talk about code bloat in a minute. But did we talk about that last class? No. Okay, so we'll talk about code bloat. If you're bloating it, then there's an issue. And what I mean by bloating it is if, and this was actually an example in lab 1 or lab 2 was our grade calculator, where what you did was you created one line for your total, not you, but in general, you created one line for your overall total marks. Then you took like your one variable, and then you took that variable and then did the appropriate division. And that's not necessary because you could have done it all in one line. Are you going to fail because of that? Absolutely not. The number one thing that I want to see you guys focus on right now is making sure that we do flowcharts properly, we do pseudocode properly, we make sure that we document properly, we do the UMLs if necessary. I'm just making sure that I've included a UML in there. No? Okay. So make sure that you're commenting, make sure that you're doing your pseudocode. All right? And then make sure that your code functions. And you guys all know how to do averages and stuff? Good. If you don't, look it up. Google will be your friend. Although one thing that I've experienced with computer programming is if you do Google something, you inevitably get sucked into a vortex of somebody will give an answer, another person will think that's a ridiculous answer, then someone else will think that their answer was wrong, and then you get into a debate about who's better, Captain Kirk or Captain Picard. That's the way it inevitably goes in computer programming. But go for the answers and try to be, like I say, if you've got a problem, send me an email. If you think that your code's bloated, say, hey, you know what, is it bloated? Is there anywhere that I can maybe pare it down a little bit? And I'm not going to tell you what code, but I might say, well, in this function, you may want to have a look. Okay, is that fair? Anyone else have any questions about the assignment? Due on the 21st, which means, like I say, you'll work hard on the Sunday, so I'm going to give you the Monday off. I know, I don't understand how I can do this. But anyways, all right, so test review. So like I say, the one area of concern was that I did get some people saying they felt there might be some trick questions. And I've addressed that. I'll never, ever, ever give you a trick question. It's not fair. Especially in an introduction to computer programming course. I might, if we were in an advanced object-oriented or something along those lines, there might be a couple trick, not trick questions, but knuckleballs at you. My number one thing is I want to make sure that you're getting the basics. When you walk out, I want to make sure that you understand why we use pseudocode, where we use it, how to do appropriate flow charting, some basic coding skills, how to do decision trees, things along those lines. That's what I want you to walk out with, not your hyper analytical skills where you should be in your 4th year of a computer sciences program. And some of us have taken it, and it's not a pretty sight to be in, right? Okay, he's gonna say quiet. Okay. I was talking right at you, man. It's okay. No, I was just kidding.
Morning, he's still asleep.
Yeah, okay. Don't forget, this class is sponsored by Monster. All right, so variable types. That's a real. I think that we had some problems with that, so we're going to do an in-class exercise talking about variable types, where I'm going to give you guys some the variables, and you're going to write down the definition, and we're going to make a glossary on Blackboard as a group. And then that way you've got it to use as a point of reference. So that way this table might have strings. They're going to have to define string, and then we're going to create the definition about string. Okay? Naming conventions of variables. This one isn't as bad of a concern, but I wanted to address it because with naming conventions of variables, what'll happen is if you've got a lengthy amount of code, if you're not naming your variables correctly, you'll get confused. If you're not telling yourself, and this is more kind of reminding you as well as reminding the next person that's working on the code what you were actually meaning. So if you're writing a code and it just says the variable is x, and if x is greater than 70, then this. Well, okay, so now you've got xy, 1, 2, 3, and you've got about 15 different methods all having different variables in there. You're going to look at that and go, what the heck does x mean? So be clear, and don't forget camel case. Everyone remember camel case, right? That's now your new friend. Okay. Bedmas, like I said, your math is probably the one thing that highlighted an issue in the class overall. So I'd like to go over a few questions today. Pseudocode. We're going to talk about pseudocode as well because it based on the lab 2 as well as the exam. There's some issues as well that have been kind of highlighted that I'd like to go over and make sure everyone's on the same page. And flow charting. So how we're going to handle today's class. We're going to be doing, yeah.
If there's a way for us to do midterms, you know,
You guys can't see the results? All right, let me see. The extent of training sometimes the Blackboard is, you got it working? Awesome. So I'll look into it and see if it's just a toggle that I've just got to throw. And if it is, then that's great. And if not, then set up an appointment with me and I can go over it with you. All right. Okay, so today's class, what we're going to do is I'm going to give a bit of a lecture. I noticed some of you are already Monday morning blues and drifting off to sleep, so I'm going to try to keep it short. But we're going to do a bit of a lecture. We're going to also go over the in-class exercise. I'd really recommend focusing on the in-class exercise wherever possible. Get an extra coffee, whatever, because it might help you. So we're going to write pseudocode. We're going to write we're going to do the flow chart. And I know that for those of you who already understand it, it's going to be boring as hell, but you've got to do it anyhow for every project that you work on. Then we're going to bring it into Visual Studio and we're going to implement it. All right. So that way, basically what we've done is we've done a mini assignment. So basically everything that we're expecting here. And then you can walk out and go, okay, you know what? This is what's expected. All right. Sound cool? All right. Okay, so that being said, variable types. Stephen, why did your table do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8. Oh, damn it. Okay, so if you three could work together, that would be decimals. The back table do doubles. Okay, and then you guys do string, not string theory, but string. And if you guys can all work together, like straight across, you guys can do the definition of integer. And Nick, I'm going to give your table Boolean, something that everybody, I think, got right, which is awesome. So you guys are going to do Booleans, not because of your skill set, just because that's what it worked. And then Emma, if your table can do floats, you guys are going to do blobs. And then I'd like your table to do when to use decimals versus doubles. Okay, take about 10 minutes and then we'll get back. Some of your definitions will be a lot shorter, but I think the one in the back is gonna be more challenging.
Yeah, it's not a.
Yeah, I mean, besides that,
I need some. Yeah.
So if you use double quotes to declare a string, you can use double quotes. Or you can also actually put in a single quote to declare a string, so you can use double quote inside of it. There's ways to work around that. Yes, well, it's where you turn quotations. I don't know about all.
I guess I didn't hear this. It's not because I'm being a smile.
Is there?
When are you off? Like, I know you're back and forth.
Yeah, I'm kind of flexible, so whenever it kind of fits into your schedule, if it fits into mine, well, I'll make something work. But reach out to me and we'll figure out it based on your schedule.
Do they have a part-time office still in here?
They do, but what I typically will do is I'll just borrow a study room.
Okay. Yeah. I'd like to make it just to sit down and talk.
Okay. Can we do that after class? Okay, cool.
Okay, so it's a straight direct. There's a direct answer. I was already sharing direct answer, just have to be true or false. Lefty Lucy, righty tighty. Am I the only one that knows that?
Oh, right.
It's usually your babies with. It's for when you're tightening.
Oh, wait, no.
One week.
Surprised that second so.
That's so sorry. I because these two days are very well lefty Lucy, righty tighty. It's like a sleep anyway. Wake up. Gatorade does not have caffeine. Monster.
I like your top.
Stay up on cocaine doesn't help you sleep. I'm just fucking with you. When you hit 3 lines and try to sleep at midnight instead of gaming, it doesn't work. I can't say that. My dogs are oh, I was ready to turn 3 dogs.
Good.
1 o'clock in the morning to park. And why? Because it's squirrels outside the fucking door. Yeah, 3 in the morning parking again. Why? Because the cat decided to go downstairs. I got 3 dogs, 2 cats. I don't know, 3 cats.
I've watched out for my cats. I mean, like.
They won't touch them. Guinea pigs are fishes.
By that time, though, you'll be.
But not even little, man, like, seriously, that's not. And that's watching my son's like animal planet. Actually, I see like in South Africa. Yeah, like. I don't know that big. They're big already. These things are like that long, stood this high, like giant. I was like, and they eat this one time. I was like, oh, just cook it, get it all. They just cook like they just. Dude, I mean, okay, well, maybe I might try it. Like, I'd have to do it by my dog. She likes always and on like yes. Where you gonna go shoot? Yes, in front of my barrel. Apparently that's not the right answer. I'm allowed to hunt ugly things. I wanna go hunt with that big turkey, partridge, or ugly, you can shoot them like dogs. Or ugly, I mean, like, shoot them like shoot rabbit, shoot deer, shoot those. We're kind of keep okay, those kind of look delicious.
Yeah, just one. Otherwise, we'll be doing it all day.
He was oh yeah, I watched that last. Oh, but you I just yeah. I got over that's ours. And whatever they get.
Okay, so are we good, or you need a little bit more time? We're good? Okay, I know it's difficult, so, and it's Monday morning. So what I'm going to do, like I said, is I'm going to go around and ask each table what they've agreed on is the definition. And then I'm going to type it out, and you're going to find all the, guys, you're going to find all the definitions under weekly PowerPoint, or weekly learning. I find it amazing between week 1 and week 7 how everything's dead silent during week 1, and now all of a sudden I'm battling with you guys. Okay, that's all good. All right, Stephen. No, I'm okay for hugs. Thank you. Yeah, just the decimal. What did you guys agree on? Just one sec, guys. I'm trying to hear over here. Okay, sorry.
So we went around. So the decimal reference indicates 128 data types. The 28 to 29 digits.
Okay. Is everybody okay with that definition? Everyone's going, damn, I don't know. Okay. Well, careful, because double shows a decimal. Exactly. Okay, so we're not gonna steal you guys are doing double, right? Yeah, we're not gonna steal their thunder though. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. Double.
Double is a primitive data type requiring 64 bits for accurate decision. That's what we got from our points.
Okay, so what does it mean to you? That's what because what's gonna happen is during an exam, you're gonna be called on to maybe to remember it, or during an assignment. And I want you guys not to remember the technical, but what does a double mean to you? That's what it means?
I'm not entirely.
Okay, so let me rewrite it again. So it's a primitive data type. Yeah.
Yeah, that requires 64 bits for accurate.
More accurate than decimals?
That's not
Okay. So I hear a dissenting view that it's less accurate. Why is that?
doesn't both the decimals are, so it's rounded. Not as accurate.
Okay, so it rounds up then.
Not even that rounds up, but like a float can only round so many numbers, and
Mhm.
a decimal can round so many more. Like a double can round so many more, and then a decimal can round so many more.
Okay,
So the decimal is the most accurate.
okay. Anybody else?
Well, it's 64 bits and that one is 128.
Okay,
So it makes it more, decimal makes it to be more accurate, obviously.
okay,
And the double is, as the name says, is we can store double storage as float.
okay.
So usually a float, I guess, can have 7 decimal numbers,
Mhm.
and the double can store 50.
Okay. So has everyone got that then? Does that make sense? Why a double is bigger than a decimal? No, I got that backwards. It's brought to you by Monster. Why a decimal is bigger than a double? Okay. And if it's bigger, then it's more accurate.
Okay, so the decimal does 28,
128, yeah. 128 bit.
128 bit, but 28, nothing, you have with 28 significant digits bill. So like high theory, 28 numbers, like 3.14. How many does double? It's like 64.
Double would do half of what decimal does. Yeah. But I got that.
That's what I think.
All right.
Maybe less bit.
Okay, so it's exponentially larger. So how do you mean? Explain it to the group.
Yeah,
I remember Commodore 64.
Okay.
I remember Commodore 128.
Okay, so why don't we do it this way? You look up how many decimal places double has, and Stephen, if your table could look up how many decimal places decimal contains. And then we'll get right back to you guys though. All right? You guys, what were you doing? String. Okay, so should be relatively straightforward. What is a string? What the hell does that all mean?
Basically anything you can put on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Except for control keys, enter, backspace, control, function. For the string initialization characters, which are double quotes.
Okay.
Unless they are escape, which is a way of telling these codes that I can see.
Okay. So except the control, we'll put command for those Mac fans and special functions. That about right? I got you right? Okay. All right, and your table, now I'm getting into the ones that I forgot what I gave you guys.
We had integer.
Integer, okay, and then we're gonna get back to these two tables in a second. Yep.
For the definition, we came up with like a whole number that is not a fraction.
Okay. Okay, so,
It can be like positive or negative.
okay, I was just gonna ask that question, okay?
And it can be like 32-bit and 64-bit.
Yeah,
Well, sorry, actually it's 32-bit, sorry. And it has 4 bytes. And pretty much it can be used like as anywhere you're using numbers that aren't like fractions.
okay,
It's used in like some video games uses like the max value
okay,
for certain things.
okay,
So it can be used in like money, video games, like a max value as well. Max
Okay.
value, like, lowest value.
okay, so you mentioned money.
Yeah.
Would it be appropriate using an integer for money? If,
Well, I guess there could be a decimal in the money.
yeah, like if I gave you
So I
a
guess,
dollar,
yeah.
is that better than me giving you $1.50? Okay, so it really isn't, if you were dealing with whole dollars, that would be fine. But if you're doing calculations that involve money, I wouldn't recommend using an integer. All right. So where else can we use an integer then? So we've got max scores in video games. You guys are web developers. Where else can we use it? Think about an e-commerce site.
I mean, for ideal products, I mean,
Well, like where would we put it on an e-commerce order form? Quantity? Okay. So can we buy 1.5 of something? Unless it's fluid. Like if we were to say, okay, we want a liter and a half of something. But typically they're not sold in liter and a halves. If you're buying fluid from an e-commerce site, I don't know what you're buying. But anyways, okay, so it would be something like a quantity, whether like, and as long as it's a whole number that can't be divided. So I can't order 1.25 of these mouse devices. Mice? Have we ever agreed on that? Is it a mice? Like multiple are mice, or is it a mouse? Yeah. All right. So it's a multiple mouse devices. Okay. See, I've got an English degree. I can change these things. Okay. I've got a literary license. Actually, that's what they give you with a degree. It's a secondary one. Yeah, literary device. Okay. So do we understand the difference then between a decimal, double, or an integer? What's the difference between a decimal and an integer?
Decimals have decimals. Integers are your whole numbers.
Okay, good. Because that was one of the definitions that tripped people up, was what an integer is. So we've got it now. So now I turn back to our decimals, and how many decimal places can it hold? 28 to 29 decimal places?
no.
I can't remember.
Okay.
I think I think I'm not sure because I don't understand this. For example, 1e.
Mm-hmm.
What is 1e? Power minus 28, for example. I
Okay.
don't understand it, but I guess it can have to maximum decimal number of 4. It don't make sense to me.
Okay.
But
So
that's
so there is a lot of decimal places because what you're describing is a lot. I don't know exactly the
no,
number.
it's a big number.
Yeah.
Which is very useful for financial things. So the decimal, we don't need that much decimal in that in financial cases. So 4 or 5 would be enough, but the number would be big.
Yeah.
So that's why it's big,
Mhm.
yet it has decimals.
Okay.
So in this case, it makes sense to have 4 decimals, but I'm not sure yet.
Bunch of hands went up there. Go ahead. Yeah. You can set the format for it.
Apparently-
It's above our pay grade at this week. We will get there though.
Apparently folks have like 7 digits of precision.
What about decimal? They're doing, yeah, they're doing decimal. You just stole their thunder again.
You got it wrong, it's 50.
Instead of thousands.
Okay.
Hey, you are right.
Okay, so 15 decimal places? Okay,
And the reference just says 28 figures, so I'm guessing that's after the decimal.
okay, so we've got 15, 28. So if you're doing any calculation that requires 28 decimal places, man, oh man, is that exact. Okay, and I don't want to be cutting that piece of wood that requires 15 or anything, so. Okay, so does that make sense then? You guys were Booleans.
Straight direct answer, true, false. True or false. It's either right or wrong.
Okay, so true or false, but where else can we use a Boolean? Say, for example, in an order form. Sure. Okay. So like the field is required. Your postal code is a required field. Okay.
By field or your, it's in order form, credit card number or delivery postal code.
Okay. So how is a credit card number a Boolean?
It's not the credit card number, like your postal code, your shipping address. It's needed to ship to you.
So so you're not saying that the actual postal code is a Boolean, it's whether it's been filled out or not.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep.
It's signed.
Yeah. Yeah. So how would the Boolean come in the sign-in page?
Log in or register.
Oh, okay.
If it's log in, then it's true. If it's not, you don't have a log in, it's false. So you have to go to
I'm hesitating in its lowest common denominator. Yes. Are you an account holder? Yes or no? So yes, that would be a Boolean. Where I'm thinking a login screen would be, does your password match to what we have on record? Yes or no? So both of them are right. Like, so we're kind of being a little more loose on whether or not you're a subscriber, but yes, that would be a Boolean.
The credit card number would be like format. You would have like 16 digits normally.
Yeah.
You have like 17 or
So
13.
validation. So is the credit card formatted correctly? Or here's the big one that all e-commerce sites are concerned about, is there enough money? So anything that's got validation would be a true false situation. Okay, so everyone got Boolean? All right, Emma, what was your table? Float. And see, they stole your thunder.
We have more or less discussed.
Okay,
But it's whole decimal number to 7 decimal or byte data type. Then some more decimal numbers.
okay. Okay, thank you. You guys, in the back corner, what were you guys doing? Blob? This was one that tripped everyone up, and I did talk about it in class, but maybe I didn't talk about it enough. What'd you guys get for blob?
A blob is a binary large object,
Yeah?
like image or audio, multimedia, and it's stored in binary form.
Okay. Okay, so it's a binary large object. It could be audio, video, it could be
Document.
an image, document. So let's go back to the order form again. And actually, let's go to a contact form. Where could we use a blob in a contact form?
We want someone to attach like the resume.
Exactly where I was thinking. So in a career section of a person's website, attach your resume because it would accept a doc file, a PDF, etc. Where in Facebook would there be a blob? Exactly. Okay. So do we get blob? Yep. So if I were to ask you that question again, you'd go, oh yeah, I get that now. Yeah, okay, good. Because that one was I didn't know exactly what happened there, but because we did touch on it, but it might have been that we didn't spend enough time on it. Okay. And then last but not least, what did your table do? Oh yes, the debate rages. Okay, so what do you guys have?
We just said that a decimal was, when you require a higher level of accuracy, because it's accurate to more decimal points.
Yeah.
So to avoid rounding errors, we usually were more.
Okay. Everyone agree with that?
Why would you use a double instead of a decimal?
Storage space. So, you know, if you've got a massive database where, say for, I'll get right back to you in just one second. Okay. So say for example, if I'm coding for Revenue Canada and everyone makes X number of dollars dot 2 decimal places. If I were storing it as a true decimal place, I'm going to be storing either a whole bunch of zeros or a whole bunch of superfluous data. Okay, so we truncate it to the 2 decimal places. That's all we deal with in Canadian currency are 2 decimal places. So you would deal with it that way. Because if you think about how many millions of people are, what are there, 26 million of us in Canada or something, those extra decimal places will really add up quickly, especially on every line, etc. All right. Any other questions? So this will be considered one of the de facto study guides for you guys. If you guys want to use as a reference tool, etc., when to use something, when not to use something. Just give me 1 second here. Okay. Submitting it. That's located conveniently under week 7 in your folder. Week 7 already. We're halfway there. Okay. So there it is. And then I thought I'd put it up there already. All right. So let's go back to the class then. So that was good. Thank you very much. All right. Now are we making out? Okay. Why don't we take a little bit of a break? Caffeine break, because like I say, this is a key building point for the rest of our class. So we'll be back at 5 after 10. Hi.
So I had a concern, like what we were talking about, doing things sort of the lengthy way versus a more concise way, and I just like mine to be done.
Okay.
And I just want to know, like, I feel like, and I even said this before we talked about it, that I feel like it took forever doing all this. Like, I feel like there was a much shorter way to do it that I just don't know. And I want to know if that's something that I would be penalized for. So I'm like, did I draw that out too much, or is there
grade 4 is less than-
not even that, just like everything, the whole thing. Things that I needed to apply to like to multiple areas. I feel like I could have.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The whole thing I felt that way as I was doing it. It took me
This
2
being-
hours to do all this.
Yeah, because what you're going to see is that it could probably be done in a lot less lines. But will you be penalized? No, not at this
Because we don't
stage.
know how to do that?
Exactly.
Okay,
So you don't know what you don't know. So no problem. Like, did it work?
Yeah, it does everything.
That is the number one thing. So I can't wait to see it
Okay. All
in
right,
function. But yeah, like I say, I'm more concerned about code float when we've got a situation, say, where it's
I totally get what you're saying. Because what you were saying, people did on the exam, I did that. Or not on the exam,
On
on
the
lab too. I
lab.
did that, yeah.
Yeah, then you
said
went-
something.
then you went C divided by
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and I did that and you said
Okay,
something.
did you
so I
do that
was
in
conscious
there?
of it. No.
Okay, then see, you're learning already.
Well, I was very conscious
Yeah.
of it because I didn't know what I was doing. You said something.
Okay,
So I just like, that's super long. So
that's okay.
Because it's like for every individual thing, right? 3, 4, like every grade, I apply
Okay.
it separately, like.
There are other ways that we can do it, and we will get there. But for now, that's more than
That's okay.
sufficient.
Okay.
Because we'll start using
Because
arrays
that's
and
what
things like
concern, exactly. And I probably could figure that out, but I
that.
didn't.
There's no point in it right now. It's over our pay grade.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
think about COMP1030.
I don't.
So the reason why it's the one is because it's anytime you leave the current text box it immediately calculates displays the library space. And it also the biggest part is you can throw in so you can throw text, you can throw faces, you can do whatever you want. And the provider does not allow you to enter or
That's a combination. You throw a letter there?
whole program. So that was my choice. I just wanted to explain, but it's not super small. The other thing is there is some weird functions. There is one time it's not that we want to like create a very certain setting. I want to make sure my variable is 0 and 3. There is no common built-in method. So it's like, but and most of those are yeah, it's 5 lines back. But it's just it would be shorter. Something horrible happens and it like breaks. I will say it's actually a lot. I spent that so it is like beautiful, but you will probably have if you don't write functions, you're gonna have like a 700 line. So you could do it, but I don't know, just at least if you want to, it is on this sorry. Which I have to have because it's about textbooks going first in class before, so the time to do it. So I had to sit it'd be better to set it off. Or I don't know if Georgian does use text. But they want to use a cell phone. But at least that would be more theory. Yeah. So is there a way? What is the most 5? So what you would have to do is come up with some way of typing text and see if it's and if it is an empty string, then you need to okay. You basically no, I'm serious. You just not. It's just another function. So you could just write another function that takes the sex bar and you have an empty string or a number or something. Just to see if it's an empty string. If it's an empty string and 0, it's not an empty string. Just be zero that great. It's like you give us 6 months. Is it all in the
They're easy and they're
Oh my god. I love
So what you can do is before you recognize
That's Ryan over there, right? Yeah, okay. So I'm just making sure that all computers are accounted for so we can start. That's all. Okay. So why don't we pick up where we left off? And again, this next part is very, very significant. And if you already have the concept of BEDMAS, PEDMAS, I apologize, but it's important to review. If you don't, this is going to be very valuable going forward. So, see, I sometimes. Yeah, no. So
Take 12 away from something.
sometimes I hate how I set up my PowerPoints because I've got so many things on the go, and that was supposed to be a question for you guys to answer, and I just didn't set up the appear part. So anyway, so BEDMAS, it's brackets, it's exponents, division or multiplication, and addition. What it's telling us is that's the order of operations that we do things. So if we've got a bracket first. Oh, I thought I checked computers and I didn't see your computer there. That's why I started. Sorry. Anyhow, so I didn't like literally check your computer. I said, whoa, wow. Okay, no. Anyhow, so that's how we do our math. And I'm going to go over a couple questions for you. Okay, so answer the following. 3 plus 3 times 5. What is our answer? 45. I hear 45. Do I hear any other answers?
Oh, wait, sorry, 30.
30.
All right.
Now,
My math was wrong at 30.
okay, so 30.
30.
How did we get to 30, Stephen?
Brackets first.
Okay, so 3 plus 3 is 6 times 5. Okay. A little bit more lengthy. Maybe you might want to bring out a calculator for 3 plus 3. I know it trips people
I know
up.
it's hard. I just.
All right, so 10 times 3 in parentheses divided by 2 minus 1. 14. All right, how do we get to 14?
10 times 3 is 30, divided by 2 is 15, minus 1 is 14.
Okay, so if you guys are rocking it this much, you guys should have rocked it in the exam. All right, here we go.
10.
Okay, let other people answer.
Sorry, I was actually good at math in high school. I remember some of this crap.
All right, so how did we get to 10 then? Okay, now you're gonna let other, oh, now, okay.
No, you don't want it.
I do.
3 times 3 plus 1.
Okay, or 3 squared.
3 squared plus 1.
Okay. All right. In parentheses, 2 times 5 times 4 divided by 2. What did you get? 20. 20? A little uncertain. Does everyone agree with 20? Okay, how did we get to 20?
2 times 5 is 10.
Yeah.
And then 10 times 4 is 40, and then divide that half, get 20.
Okay, so,
Or
you could go 2 times 5 is 10 times 2. Either way. Okay, yep.
Maybe the reason people said there was a trick question is one of the math questions you gave us, didn't have any brackets or anything. So on a computer, it would just calculate from left to right. So maybe they put that answer instead of actually. Like if you were putting in like, through coding, if you were to program that, it would go from your left variable to the right. It wouldn't add brackets for you, right? So if you said like variable x plus y times by z, like it wouldn't do that on the computer.
So 3 times 4 plus 1.
Yeah, it would just go from left to right.
Okay, so, well, which in this situation would be 12, 13. Okay, so what if it was, but even at that, it still comes out to the same thing.
Well, no, see, in this case.
Oh, no, it doesn't. It comes out to 16.
That would come out 1, yeah, plus 3 is 4.
But would we code it this way in on a program?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I thought it was a trick question.
Okay, I see. All right, so I'll be a little more clearer then with the types of questions. And again, I was sure everyone was here. Okay. No, it was, I was trying to make sure everyone was here because Bedmas was so important.
I forgot that place on.
Okay, all right. 2 times 5 times 4 divided by 2 plus 3. What do we get?
Hold on, 23.
I hear a 23. I hear another 23. Do I hear any dissenting views?
No.
Who's the Leafs fan? What are you then?
I'm a Habs fan. Don't worry about it.
It's a Senators fan? Okay, good. All right. You can still stay in the class.
Okay.
But this is a Leafs fan class.
It's Leafs friendly, is it?
Yeah. Okay, so,
Oh, I just read it.
okay, so you got it right?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so 23. How did we get there? Same idea. 2 times 5 is 10 times 4 is 40 divided by 2 is 20 plus 3, or 2 times 5 is 10 times 2 plus 3. 23.
Sorry, Keith, just to be fair, I ran a quick test in C-Sharp.
Yeah.
C-Sharp does actually do ordered operations for you. So
Okay.
the second equation you have on the board.
Yep.
Does actually produce 13.
Perfect. So there we go. All right. So we learn something new each day. Thank you for performing that. Okay. Actually, speaking of which, we've still got a little bit. We've got the lecture to go, but at some point within the next 10 minutes or so, you may want to spark up Visual Studio if you already haven't, because we know how much of a drain on resources, we'll call it is. All right. So help me out then. Somebody define pseudocode for me. What is pseudocode? Okay, I'm sorry?
Your coding steps is in plain English.
Coding steps in plain English. Okay, so let's see what I've got. A notation resembling, now this is an official one, but anyhow, it's a notation resembling a simplified programming language used in program design. Basically a mouthful for saying exactly what you just said. So what is it that we want our program to do in English? Okay, so, okay, I'm not going to go there first. Should we be putting coding into our pseudocode? Okay, why not?
Yeah, we can put it as comments.
Okay, yeah, we could comment it, but is it good practice?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, why not? Okay, I'll play devil's advocate for you then, because if you've got the equation up top, like say for example in your comment, you've got the equation there, and then you're putting it there, it's going to be a little more difficult to read. So it's duplicate. Like, is it wrong? No, but is it something that we should try to avoid? Let's try to keep the comments to the everyday English. You can do it if it helps you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
You can. Okay. All right. All right. So what's wrong with this pseudocode? Okay, I think I just actually stole my own thunder this time. Okay, so it's not really, like we were just saying, it's not really wrong if it helps you formulate what you're trying to accomplish, but try to keep the formulas out of the pseudocode wherever possible. Because if you see this and then you see it down here, you could get confused. That's all I'm saying. It's not right nor wrong. It's just kind of bad form. All right, is this acceptable?
Yes. No, yes. Convert the input to a decimal.
So is it yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Everyone agree?
Probably not.
Okay.
That's why I listen to the guy that knows nothing.
Is this? Ooh, something's different about it now.
I mean, what's that, the two semicolon?
Yeah. Is it acceptable?
Yeah.
Like, will it run the code?
Yeah.
But it's got the double semicolon though. Like if a double semicolon, it's just gonna break it, isn't it?
No, let's do it.
Okay, so exactly, okay. So I did that one deliberately. Does it need to be there? No, you don't have to put a semicolon at the end of a comment. But if you put it's in a comment, this will not execute, no matter what you try. As long as you've got the double slash there, no matter what you do, it won't execute. It's just code, or not code, words. Okay? Everyone understand the difference?
Basically, it's just you telling you something.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's exactly it. And did I tell you guys the example where I didn't comment? I had written a very extensive Excel spreadsheet for one of my clients, and it was really elaborate, and it was had all sorts of calculations, but I didn't comment any of it in Excel because I know it's Excel. Why would you do anything in Excel? But anyhow, I did because of the end user, and I didn't comment anything. And then 6 months later, Google changed their algorithm, or at least the way they presented their information to you, and I had to change everything around, but I had to remember what it was that I was thinking when I did it. No comment, I had to start all over again because I had no idea where I was going, what I was thinking, why I was doing it that way. So in that situation, with it being my own company, okay, you know what, it cost me my own time. If you're working for somebody, they're not going to be as happy with you, because basically they're paying you twice to do the same job. Always, always, always comment. It helps you 6 months down the road. If Mohammed's doing a code and he writes it and then passes it over to Nick, Nick's going to need to understand what the code was originally. Yeah, I know, but that's okay. You'll get there. So, but he needs to understand where Mohammed was thinking, because he may not have done it the same. One thing that you're going to hear on a programming floor, whether it's website design, program design, is what the hell was that guy thinking? Because everyone thinks their code is the best format, it's the best everything. So if you can give them an insight into your mind, if you leave the company or if you pass it off, then that's going to help out immensely. Okay? All right. Flowchart review. What is this in a flowchart?
That's the square.
Well, that's good, yeah? But it's actually a rectangle.
Parallelogram.
So what is this in a flowchart? Right. Process. Oh, okay. Yes, it is. What about this one?
Precision. Precision.
Precision? Okay. Input or output? Okay. I don't know what you mean by precision, but I put down in.
Right. I'm wrong.
You're wrong? Okay. All right. So input, output. All right. So now all of a sudden, if you think about what we've been talking about in class, IPO. So we've got those three. Those three you're going to be using more frequently than any of them. But we're going to be introducing a different one. What is that one? Did you say decision? I'm sorry, I thought you said precision. I apologize. So there's your decision tree right there. Okay? So basically what this does is within here, it asks a question, and that is called I'm looking at Boolean. Okay? So is it this? Yes or no? And it will tell you the direction that you're going. Pretty self-explanatory. We've done it before. Yep. You could use true or false. It's the same thing. So is variable test mark 1 greater than 50? Yes or no? So yes. Okay. So do we have this pretty well down pat? This was pretty straightforward of a review. Excellent. Okay, so and again, flow charts. Now when we're starting to put it all together, so here we have the now, okay, this isn't my flow chart, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, that's a process. I guess he's describing the display as the process. So display, I have a message for you. Show the message, and display, that's all, folks. And then down here is the end. All right, then the one up top, the show message, display, hello world, return. Okay. All right, so decision structure. So we've started talking about variables. We've started talking about inputting and whatnot. And then we started talking about Booleans and decisions. Yes, no, what happens here? Is it greater than, etc. So most of everything that you're going to do in programming will require at least one decision. Well, one of them is whether or not you want to program it. But in the code, you're going to be actually asked to do at least perform one decision. There's very few programs out there that actually have no decisions. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it? It's just basically sitting there. So, for example, back in when I first started coding, and I'm going to really date myself, I can't remember what the coding language was, but it was basically, we talked about it earlier in another class when we were talking about methods and objects, where if this is correct, go to line number 120. If it's not, go to line 130. And basically, you were writing your method within the entire length of code. Now, do you guys remember why that's not a good format of coding?
You have a really long page of code.
Really long page of code, yeah. And what else is the biggest challenge with something like that? Emma? All you have to do is add one line right near the top and you're done, because then you got to find every reference. And if you don't do it in the same sitting, then it really breaks the code, because if you return to it, you go, oh, did I do this one or not? The other challenge is that if you're not paying attention, it will really mess you up. So that's how we used to do it back in the day. So we're thankful for the methods. But again, same idea with the decision tree. We still used it back then, even though it was a nightmare, because we'd be just basically skipping. So if we had this, and there's what, 5 lines. So if this is greater than 2, go to line 5. Otherwise, go here. Okay, so it was still a decision tree. We were still asking the computer to make a decision for us, or the program itself. All right, and they can vary greatly in complexity. If you've already done your assignment and submitted it, as you can see, it could be very complex. Or if you think back to our original labs, where it was, I don't know if we've actually incorporated a decision yet into our labs. No. Okay. You'll see today that there's going to be relatively straightforward. Okay. So it can be very complex, or it can be straightforward. So this is how we would chart a conditional statement. So you start, ask the user to enter in a temperature for in Celsius. If temperature is greater than 0, go to yes. Let's go golfing. Okay. You guys have never met Jared Wright, have you? No. He's actually an instructor here, and he's an avid skier. So I'm shocked that if it's greater than 0, he's going golfing.
Yeah.
But anyhow, and if not, then let's go skiing. So anyhow, so that's how it works. If it's this, go here. If it's that, go there. Does that make sense? Excellent. All right. So, and again, we talked about this with the exact example was the login page that we were discussing. So the login button represents a decision tree. First off, if we just click the login here, are we going to go anywhere? No, why not?
Put username, password. Right?
So there's nothing there. So, but why would it not let us in though? The text fields are false. So if they are filled, now we validate it. Then what we have to do is do another decision tree. Now that they're filled, does the login match the password? Okay. All right. So we're going to do a real. Oh, not yet. Okay. Okay. So also decision trees or a decision will help you display what you like basically how the computer displays stuff. So for example, if you're on Amazon and you make a mistake of clicking a product, you'll see many suggestions about that product throughout your entire lifespan. So, you know, never look up toilet paper on Amazon because that's all you're gonna see for the rest of your life. But it's a part of the decision. Did you select this? Yes. Well, then show these. Okay? So that's all part of the decision. Here we go. Okay. So very quickly, we're gonna give you about 5 minutes at the absolute tops. Find a web page where a decision is being made and tell us, like, I'll go around the class and we can talk about it. A web page where decisions made. Amazon is not allowed, nor is Georgian.
Oh, well.
All right, we good? Yeah, that was pretty straightforward. Okay, so who's got one that they want to share? Google. Interesting. So Google is a decision. How is it a decision?
So you type in whatever you want to search, and you type in nothing, nothing.
So that the decision in that stage would be part of a validation process?
Yeah.
Okay.
Validate.
Okay. So yeah, absolutely. I'll get to you in a second. Yep.
DH gate.
DH gate.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to assume that you're going to tell us all about it.
You don't know what it is?
No, what is
It's like-
DH gate?
It's like wholesale from China.
Oh, okay. I know Ali.
It's like
Ali.com.
AliExpress. It's
Okay.
It's for like more, like you want to buy more bulk.
Okay.
So it gives you the option if you want to buy 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 piece, or more.
Okay. So where's the decision in it then?
Which one you want to buy.
So which type would be the decision tree? Like if you're coding, would it be which type?
Or it would be how much.
The price would change based on how much you're buying, is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
that's
Yeah,
the
so
thing.
if you
Oh,
want
I
to
see.
buy-
Okay, so I apologize because in most e-commerce sites, your quantity wouldn't be the decision tree.
Right.
But based on what I'm hearing, then yes, it would be.
Yeah.
Okay. Nick, you had one, and then I'll get right over to you, and then over to you, Steve.
Blizzard Entertainment.
Blizzard Entertainment. What is Blizzard Entertainment?
They have MMORPGs, online gaming site. It's online gaming.
Okay.
You either get your email, you have to have your email and password, so you have to have an account with them.
Okay.
Which is paid, or you can log in via Facebook or
Okay. So then, where would our decision be?
your email password
Or
or
your-
which one.
Your login API.
Your login.
Okay.
Login.
All right. So not only is it validation, it's comparing
It's about
your information.
comparing your information.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, like that.
I have Team Trios.
Team Treehouse. Teen Treehouse. Team. Okay.
Losing my voice.
Okay.
Basically, it's an online learning platform
Okay.
for like web development, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So it gets you to log in at the beginning, which is the first decision, but then there's also these things called tracks.
Yeah.
That it shows you what your progress is in which tracks.
Okay.
So it would be, have you completed this yet?
Excellent.
Yes, no.
Okay.
And it has like an image around your image that shows you the different colors for what you worked on.
Okay. So your progress is what the decision tree is. Have you completed phase 2 before phase 3? And actually, in you're not doing Blackboard, right? Okay. In Blackboard, there's also and there's another one called D2L where you can make it so that I will only let you see, say for example, the next weekly folder once you've completed all the assignments in there. So very similar to that idea. Okay, perfect. Stephen.
So, Ford.ca.
Ford.ca, okay.
Find the deal on 62.
Okay, so where's the decision in that?
So you ask for your postal code.
Yeah.
And then you can, and then it filters it.
Just one sec. Guys, I'm having a hard time.
So then it filters down to your city.
Yep.
And then you can go further down into what type of cars.
Okay.
So it's,
All right. So it's how is it? So you're saying the decision tree is part of the validation?
yes, of what you're looking for.
Okay.
In the cars.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to let you guys in on this is a personal confession. I have a little bit of ADD. So when I hear talking over here and Steven's talking here, I'm starting to wander over here because I'm trying to hear what you guys are saying as well as what Steven's, and I will inevitably drop both conversations. So if you guys could just bear with me because otherwise this is going to be a brutal class. And I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm just letting you know that's why I ask you if you can keep it down. Okay, cool. Anyone else have any other websites? Emma? Netflix. Okay, interesting. So where's the decision tree in that? Don't say login, please.
No.
Okay.
I'm sure it's most people.
Okay.
Pick like, oh, I'm Emma.
Yeah.
And then it's got like, I watch a lot of crime shows, and then it's just all these other crime shows. You think about these things.
Okay. Are these instructional how-tos or are these just?
No, because like, this is what it does. So it's saying like, it's Emma, so we know that she watches these things.
Okay, so that's the decision tree. Who is it first?
Yeah.
And then what have you watched
What
previously?
things you watched, what else do you?
Okay. Now I teach in another course, Enterprise Analytics, where we go into the analysis of Netflix and what goes into them predicting what your favorite shows are. It's based on keywords. It's based on when you watch things, what you watch, how long you watch. It's incredible. So yes, that's why I went, oh, interesting. Don't say login, because there's so many other decisions in Netflix. And as a user too, you know, your decisions are, do I want to watch this? Do I want to go past it? Am I Emma? Am I mom? Am I dad? Et cetera, et cetera. Anyone else, or are we good? We got the idea? Excellent. Okay, so if statements. So we've been talking about decision trees, and you knew this would happen. We're going to introduce if statements to it. Now, what is an if statement? I know it's up on the board, so try not to read it when you're telling me what an if statement is.
If it's in front of us.
Okay.
Sorry, my bad.
All right. Basically, the if statement is at the crux of all decision trees. If this, and have you guys heard the website, if this, then that?
Yeah.
Okay, anyone that has a smart home or likes the Internet of Things, if this, then that is a great website. But it's so that's what we have there. So we can have two possibilities, if, else. We can also have multiple conditions. So, and, ors. So where will we use an and, or in an if statement?
Why would you use an if statement?
I mean,
We'll go there.
Okay.
Mohammed?
for example, if you want to check two variables, for example, if you want to check if A and B, both of them are greater than 0.
If A is greater than 0.
And
So
if you want to check that both of them must be greater than 0, we use and. But if we only need one of them.
So am I writing it like this then for the and statements?
No, double ampersand.
Okay. See, I was trying to test you, Mohammed. I should have known. And I apologize. That's going to be an ampersand.
Yeah, then there is or, which is two words.
Yeah, what do we call those?
I don't know.
You'll hear it frequently going forward. A pipe. Yeah. Okay? So it's just a double pipe is or. Right? Okay.
And I mean Persian language.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I forgive you, no problem. Okay, so where else could we use an and or? Right.
You wanted to say here for the grade method.
I'm sorry?
For the grade method.
Yeah.
If you wanted to see that variable is greater than that or less than something else, or if it's sorry.
Okay, so I'll simplify what you're saying basically, and I'm not going to use that one because that's a bad example as an instructor to use that one. So I'm going to use temperature selector. We'll go back to Jarrett's one. where it's if the temperature is greater than 0 or less than 40 degrees, let's go skiing. Or actually, no, that'd be really warm in Celsius. Okay.
Not skiing.
See, okay, and again, I'm old school, so I'm Fahrenheit kind of guy. So, and anyhow, but you get the idea. If it's this and this or this, then do this. Yeah.
I mean, like, how can I say about it? And all. And you, when you have to do something with, agree with two, decision, but or you just do one decision.
Okay.
Just one or two.
Okay, so there's also, there's and,
Yeah.
there's or, and what you're introducing now is and or.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I mean,
so,
like, or A modern zero and B modern zero. Like if you use and, you have to do both. You have to like the value of A and B is have to be more than have to be more than zero.
Okay.
But for or, you just A more than zero or B more than zero.
Okay.
You don't need to be both.
okay, so you don't have to weigh both, you just have to one or.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool. Anybody else, or are we good? Yep.
For and, say, if the user signed in, that's the, and ask the user to, if they want to have the site remember that.
Okay, so now you're introducing something whole new different when you're using it in cookies. Because now you're asking the user, so if they're logged in and the user wants you to remember the password. I don't know if that would be an if and statement or if that's two different methods. Because what we'd be doing is if they're logged in, then call this method. So I don't think it would be an if and statement, but same idea though. If I was understanding what you were saying correctly. Yeah, okay. All right. All right, so actually we're just about to get to the in class. Now, what I'm going to do is, this is a link that's going to talk about some decision trees or decision structures. If you want to check it out, the PowerPoint is going to be available online or on sale in the lobby for just $30. But no, you can check it out. It's going to be online, so that's going to be a link that you can go to. Okay, so in class. Now, here's the deal I've got for you guys. This is going to be a little bit longer of a process. We are at 25-2. If we work through our break, you guys good with getting out a little early, or at least I'll stick around and give you a chance to ask any questions about assignments, or do you want me to split it up and halfway through we'll do a break?
We have a 5-minute tea break now.
You just got back.
So some of the ladders like little.
I won't even. I can't. As an instructor, I've got
Small ladders.
Small, thank you.
Small ladders.
Okay.
Or
If you
too
need
much
to
coffee.
excuse yourself, you can excuse yourself. How about we go that route? Okay. Class exercise. What we've got, our client has come to us and asked us to create a temperature converter because I'm old and I need to know how we convert Celsius and convert them to Fahrenheit temperatures. Does everyone know what a Fahrenheit is?
Yes, it's the American equivalency to
Okay.
Celsius.
Well, no, it isn't. Celsius isn't equivalent to Fahrenheit.
It's the temperature readout for.
Okay, did I tell you the joke about a computer programmer?
No.
The wife sends out. So the wife sends the computer programmer out and says, "Can you pick up a gallon of milk? And if they have eggs, pick up 6." And he came home with 6 gallons of milk. Okay, that's where we go. So it's not equivalent.
It's not equivalent.
Okay, all right. So basically, Canada was part of the Fahrenheit process. It's an imperial measurement, and back in, I want to say the 70s, Canada went, you know what's going to be a better idea is the rest of the world is on metric, so we're going to migrate over to metric. Jimmy Carter in the US tried to do it, and I guess he didn't have the wherewithal to execute it because they started and then they just said, no, we're going to go back. So that's why we have 2 different ones now in North America. So basically what we want to do is just say, if the temperature is less than 32 degrees Fahrenheit, output its XX, whatever that temperature is, it's cold. If it's less than 70, it's XX outside, it's cool. Otherwise, it's XX outside, it's warm today. The formula for converting to Celsius Fahrenheit is 1.8 times temperature plus 32. Okay? So what we're gonna do in class is we're gonna work through the pseudocode. Like, this isn't for marks, we're gonna work it through, because as you're doing it, you're gonna go, I wonder where else I can use this. So we're gonna create the pseudocode, then we're gonna create a flow chart, then we're gonna create the file. And then afterward, like while you guys are coding it, for those of you who have a little bit more of an advanced understanding or are already there, be more creative, introduce some different elements to it as well. All right, or feel free to help out others if you're already done. So, this all being said, let's have some fun here. All right, I'm going to start up Word. I hope I've got a functioning version of Word. So does everyone understand what the client's expecting of us? Yes? Okay, as soon as Word comes up, we're gonna start writing it. And what I'll do is I'll save this and I will put it up on Blackboard for you, like all the different files. Okay. Okay, so what's the first thing that we want the computer to do? Or the user to do? Yep. Okay, what next? My fingers are too fast. Okay, now I did mention that you shouldn't have a formula in pseudocode. I'm going to put it in just so that we can remember. So it's the temperature. Yeah, in Celsius. Put in Celsius times. Wow, this could be a very long Celsius times 1.8 plus 32. Okay, what's next? So the pseudocode, that's what we're writing right now. So what will be the next step? An if statement. So this is where our decision tree is. Okay, so we'll put decision about weather, we'll call it. Okay, is there anything else? Output, okay. So that's our lines of pseudocode. Do we have anything else that we need?
Someone said the if statements. So
that's part of the that's part of the decision.
You don't want us to go into detail about that.
I'm sorry?
In pseudocode, you don't want us to go into more detail of the conditions for if this, then.
You don't have to, because where are we going to put that? In the actual code. It'll be pretty self-evident once we're writing it.
Okay.
All right?
So this temperature of this, we'll say this in our grade calculus. We wouldn't really have to add if the grade 1 is greater than this, because that'd be a huge flow.
Let's see what we've got. You might. It depends on how you approach it. Like there's so many different approaches to this assignment that you might. I've seen assignments that are introducing arrays already. I've seen assignments that will have a longer flow chart. It just depends on how you approach the assignment. Okay, so output. So anything else then? Now, I'm going to go back because you had asked about whether or not we put the if conditions there. What we want to do is make it so it's everyday English, that anybody could read it. If somebody never took a moment in a computer programming class, will that person understand what the program's supposed to do? So if we start including if statements, will they understand? Well, they might, but then they might get tripped up on the greater than signs and things along those lines. All right. So does this make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. So now, what is it that we've created the pseudo chart or the pseudocode? What is it that this is now feeding? And I don't know if I'm asking the question fairly because I'm seeing a lot of puzzled expressions. It's part of the flow chart, yeah. And what else is it part of? Comments. Yeah. So this will be, now that we've set it up as step by step. Oh, sorry. We've set it up step by step. Now what we can do is we can just turn these into comments, and it's starting to steer what we're going to do with our code. So this, if I were to submit this, if this were our assignment, and I were to submit this as pseudocode, would I get top marks? Okay, you're saying no. Why not? Oh, no. Okay, but what I'm saying though is if the assignment is submit your pseudocode, submit your flow chart, submit your code, and these would be also in the code, would this be acceptable as the part of the assignment? Okay. Okay. So it could have a little bit more detail, but bare bones, would it be acceptable? Yeah. Because the end. Okay, so forgive how this comes out, Nick, but looking at this, would you understand it? If you never set foot into
reading what we just went through, yes, I would understand that you have to something for it, and there'd be a decision about it. No.
Okay, so that's what a pseudocode does. All right, so you again, you can put the coding in, like the actual calculations in, if it helps you. It's not necessary, and you probably don't want to do that just because once you get lengthy sets of code, you're probably going to confuse yourself or another coder. Okay? All right, so we've got that. So now what we need to do is we're going to go to draw.io. Or Visio if you've used Visio. Okay, and we're going to create a new diagram. Now, for those of you who have already submitted your assignment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow multiple submissions. Like I'll change that up so that if you see something that you want to change as we're going through today, this will give you the opportunity to change it up a little bit. If you don't, then just know when to hold them, know when to fold them. All right, and sadly, there's only a couple of us that would know that reference. Okay. So we're right now at the flow chart. Are we starting to recognize some of these things that we've talked, the symbols that we've talked about now? Little more. Okay. So what's the first thing that we want to do then based on our pseudocode? Yep. Okay, start with a rectangle because that's a process. Input. And what's the...
When you use the rectangle with the oval.
Okay. Yes, in the truest form, absolutely. In an assignment, yes. So we'll put it in there. If we're just working on it together in a class, it's not as important, but yeah, absolutely. Form is always good. So we're going to start. And that's probably not the right one, but that's what I'm going to turn it into the start. Okay. Oh, strat. Yeah. And again, wow. There we go. I might have to get a guest typer in this afternoon. Okay, so we've got this. We've got the start, and then now we want to do an input. And does anyone remember what the input looks like?
Yeah. Below the curve.
Right there?
Yeah.
Parallelogram? Okay, so what is the input that we want to do?
Celsius.
Okay, so input temperature is Celsius? I'm sorry? Yeah, well, actually, how I typically will do it is I don't connect until right near the end. But you can connect as you go along, that's fine. And if you'd like. But the problem with abbreviations though, and this is where I'm going to caution you, is what's significant to you as the abbreviation, I may not understand as the reader. So make sure that your abbreviations make sense.
Yeah.
That's fine. But C.
Yeah.
So if you, because it's Celsius, well, of course, C, but is that your variable name? Is that the temperature? Yeah, as long as it makes sense, then that's fine. Okay, so we've got then the first input. So what's next? Yeah. A process, and what's that one? Rectangle. So what's our first process then? Okay, so is everyone following along? You're keeping up? Excellent. Okay, now what I've done, and again, it's not necessary, it's not considered good or bad form, but I've just put it in there just to remind myself, and it would help if I could. What a tough word to spell, Fahrenheit. Anyhow, yeah, it's counterintuitive with the H in the middle of it. Anyhow, okay, so what I've done is I've just put temp, and again, it's opposite to what I've been preaching about putting it in the pseudocode. But you can put it there. If you're starting to get some ideas, don't forget the flow chart is more of a technical audience. So they're starting to see it, and if you show another coder your flow chart, they can go, hey, you know what? That's not, you probably want to do something different. It helps out in the development process. Okay? Pseudocode is for the everyday person. The flow chart is getting a little more technical. Okay. So we've got the input and we've got the process. What's next?
Check it.
Check it? Okay, I didn't put in any validation because that's going to make everything, like, it's right now it's above our pay grade. So we're just talking real basics.
I think
If statements? Okay, so what do I list as an if statement?
yeah, 7. Diamond?
A diamond, yep. So we drop the diamond in here.
There's multiple of them.
Okay, so there's multiple. Depending on how you code. For today, there's going to be multiple diamonds. You can get away with fewer diamonds based on how you're coding, but we're coding your absolute basics. So your first decision is what then?
If it's over a certain temperature, it's 1.
Okay.
Whatever the statement was in the slide that you had up.
Okay, I've got my notes here. It's if, okay, so I'm starting it with if XX, if it's less than 32, less than or equal to 32. So if less than or equal to 32, all right, so then what do I do? So I've got the diamond in here now. So what's the next step?
You say yes.
Okay, so we've got to tell it what to do if it's yes.
Yeah.
And if it's no, we've got to tell it what to do as well. Okay, exactly. So this is where it gets a little bit different than some flow charts. Because more often than not, what you're gonna see is the yes. The yes comes out, typically, more often than not. I'm not saying every time. But in this situation, sorry, no, yes goes down and no goes out. But we're gonna, so if it's yes, we're going to do an output, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the symbol for an output? Okay, parallelogram. So this right here is a parallelogram up on the screen. I would have understood it, but in a test, you can't really draw your hands. So, okay, so a parallelogram. All right, so we put it there. So if it's less than or equal to 32, what are we telling the program to do? To output. Okay.
Output the word.
So it's XX outside cold. Well, it's going to turn off. Okay, so now and again, we'll draw the lines in a minute, which will make more sense for you. So now we're saying if the temperature is less than or equal to 32, it's cold outside. What's our next step then? What is the no step?
Isn't the yes step supposed to go down?
That's what I was saying, that in a lot of situations it does go down, but this one can go out because it's going to be a shorter flow chart for us. All right, as long as it's obvious, I'm okay with it personally.
XX is outside, if it's XX outside, so above 32, it's warm.
Okay, so we've got to do what then for our next step?
Another if statement,
Another if statement.
so another time.
Do I put it over here?
Underneath the other one, because if
Like that?
the calculation, temperature times 1.8 plus 32 equals the next warm temperature greater than a certain amount, then it's going to output it's warm. Or
Okay. All right.
Or
So we know that if it's this, then it's going to output its XX, whatever that temperature is outside, it's cold. But if it's no, then we've got to take it to the next step. And the next step is it's less than or equal to 70. Okay, so once again, as soon as I find it, it's sitting there.
parallelogram.
There it is right there. Yeah, parallelogram is right here. And this is where we're going to output.
Why didn't we combine them two?
Well, we could, but what I'm trying to do is just get everyone in the habit of following the steps, because some people aren't used to doing flowcharts. So I'm getting them to think logic, like right down to. Okay, so it's XX outside. Is it warm based on the client's requirements? If the temperature is less than or equal to 70, what did the client ask? Does anyone remember? Emma? It's cool outside. Because don't forget, you've got 3 different variables that you've got to select from. Okay, so rather than beating a dead horse, what I'm going to do is just drop in my apologies to all horses out there, drop in another diamond. Okay.
Couldn't you just use like an else at this point, so it's no longer position?
Sure.
Just assume now that.
Sure. So we could do an else. Now, we've got if statements or else statements. So, or if else statement. So what he's suggesting is then we can just drop in a process here and make it else and put the output. All right. So let's try that. So we've got else. And what's the else statement then going to be? Else output?
Only be it's XX outside.
Okay, if it's not close to them.
which is, it's warm. Okay. It's XX outside.
And the parallel,
This one here, the parallelogram, would we use? I'm sorry, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking, no, that's an output, and output is, I was thinking rectangle. You're absolutely right. My apologies. Sorry if you've already typed it. You can always cut and paste it, but I did use the wrong symbol.
Bottoms of parallel.
Yep. So does everyone understand how we got to where we are? So we input the number, it does the calculation. If the temperature is less than 32, it outputs it's cold outside. If it's not, if it's less than 70 or equal to 70, it's cool. Otherwise, it's warm. Okay? So now is when we, and
How
I'm,
is that, other than attaching our arrows now, for that flow chart, that's acceptable for?
well,
It's
let's,
not really bare bone.
okay, well, let's finish it off and then we'll ask that same question. So here we're going to do an end. Because if you're going to do a start indicator, you should do an end. Otherwise, people are going to look and go, where does this end? Okay, so let's do an end. We're going to do another end. And then we're going to do a final end. Okay, so now we're going to connect them. Now, should we use, which connections should we use? Because I got to say that the curve will look really, really nice. Or should we use the straight line? Which one should we do?
can use none of them because there's an option.
Okay.
If you hover your mouse on any of them, yeah, there is an arrow and they will connect them all together.
Oh. Okay.
And if you double click everywhere, you can type for it on those arrows.
Okay, and then see how I double clicked and it got to the text, which is going to be significant in a second. But right now, I'm just.
No, you click something else. That's what just happened.
Interesting.
Yeah, you see, there are two kinds of arrows there. No, it's not that. No. Let me show you. There are other types as well.
Yeah, yeah, please.
For example, if you
Okay, so why did you do that?
sorry? You see there's crosses on the borders. If you how do you drag? Oh yeah, you got mouse exercise. So if you drag it, you see.
So he's adding an additional line.
So yeah, if
Okay.
you connect it, and then you can move it like this and like this.
Okay, so thank you, sir. I'm just going to delete this one line. There we go. Okay, so just see how when you click the button and drag it down, it's adding the line. So we're going to finish it off. All right, so we've drawn all our lines. Now we're going to go back to, whoops. We're going to go back to Nick's question now. Would this be acceptable? Wow, I could get it. There we go. So would we be able to submit this as an assignment, part of our assignment?
It has our ifs in it, it has what the client wants.
Do you want the yeses and nos for them?
We can do that, absolutely, yeah. So remember how Mohammed was saying you double click the line?
No, double click everywhere.
Okay,
Everywhere.
wait, hold on.
See, I use Visio. This is the first time I've used.
Just a little below the line, just double click. Yeah. And you can move it.
But I also double click the line too.
Here you can double click the line.
But it's not, okay, all right, so. My apologies, like I said, I use Visio where you can just double click the line and it inserts the break in there. Okay, so this is yes.
You can do the same. Yeah.
I tried it and it didn't.
No, you need to do it again. Maybe
Okay.
it works.
All right,
Yeah, there you go.
where's the text box?
No, you haven't done the.
No. Anyhow, we'll just do it we'll just do it that way, makes it easier. And if you can get it to work, that's wonderful. It's like I say, I'm a Visio user.
Wait. You get your little text box on.
Double click on the actual wallpaper. Like right in here, just anywhere. Double click.
Thank you. You just copy the text box.
Yeah.
You can type it. Yes, fine.
Sure, you can copy it as well. There it is. Okay, so now we've got our yeses and our nos. If I were to submit this, would this be acceptable in an assignment? I see a lot of nodding of the heads. Is there any dissenting views? Yes, Stephen?
I guess if you talk about a real program, you would, instead of ending it, you probably go back up to, input substance. I guess, in case they wanted to calculate another.
Okay, so yeah, you could do a loop.
Well, somebody, it's just going back up.
Yeah. Okay, so let's assume that's all we want to do. Is this acceptable? No, please, for the love of God, for everything merciful, put a title. Okay, always, always, always title and use your name and student number. Because what happens is if I've got multiple files open, I'm not going to have any clue on who it is. So name, student number, or you don't get credit for it. I know that sounds harsh, but okay. I'm not going to, well, okay, you know what? I am going to put it in because I said to please do it.
Just put a box and whatever type.
Yep, so temperature converter. Wow, okay. Apparently I got the cap locks on. And then your student number. Okay, so we would obviously put the title in first and put it at the top of the page. So that would be more than acceptable at this stage. You're looking at it going, well, wait a minute here, there's not a whole lot there. There doesn't need to be at this point. We've got our pseudocode written. We've got our flowchart done, okay? Now, do we need to add any special symbols and whatnot when we're doing our assignments? No. If this were your assignment and you were to submit it like that, that would be okay in my books. Okay, as long as you've got all the steps. Okay? And by the way, copying this one over probably won't be as effective for you. So you're gonna have to probably try to recreate it. Okay, so I'm gonna save this. Actually, I'm gonna save as. There it is. Okay. when you're saving these, this is something that tripped other people up during the that one lab where you had to submit your flow chart. Don't just save. Because if you save, you're sending me XML, and I'm going to send it back and say, I have no idea what this is. And then you're going to send it back to me the same way, and I'm going to still say the same thing. So what you want to do, if you're using draw.io or Microsoft Visio, is either print to file and print it as a PDF, or you can export as PDF. And then flowchart device. Okay, so we've got the flow chart. We've got the pseudocode. So now I'm assuming that we've all opened up our Visual Studio. So we're going to take the pseudocode. We're going to copy it. We're going to open a new project. And this is week 7, so we'll call it week 7 exercise. You can call it whatever you'd like. Okay, so it's opened the form. And I'll give everyone a chance to catch up there because I know some Visio or Visual Studios take a little longer. But while they're opening up, so we've got the form. What's the first thing that we really should do when we're doing anything to do with any projects? We should rename the form. Okay, real straightforward. And you can, in fact, also manipulate the size of the form as well. So we go down to the properties, scroll up and see where it says form. I'm going to call mine temperature converter. You click on, single click on the form, like the actual window. And then at the bottom where it says properties. Do you have a properties? Okay. And right at the, if you scroll, well, okay, mine is located near the bottom.
So it's neat, right?
Yeah, it's called text, actually. Oh, sorry, hold on. Let's go up to the top and have a look. My apologies, name. Temperature converter.
I'm clicking on it and the properties is just blank. You click on the tab, right?
Okay, just give me one quick second. Get it?
I totally name the folder.
Okay, so we named the form, but we also wanted to put the text in there. So what I had done was when someone had said, oh, you've got to change it in the name, I changed it in the name and deleted this. So I don't have any name showing. So all you have to do there is just go into where it says text, and then we're going to call this converter. Enter, and now it appears. Okay. Now, if you look here, if you scroll up and down, one of the things that you see is a size. So we don't have to keep going with the default size. We can change it. I'm going to change mine to say 300, say 400 by 300. So go to the size section.
So real quick, what was the name again?
I just called it converter.
Oh, for the name.
Okay. So are you changing the name of the actual?
So I went to and changed the.
Oh, you're way ahead of us.
Am I?
Yeah, we're just changing the name of the form right now. That's okay. All right, so if you go to the size, I'm changing it to 400 by 300. Now all of a sudden it's a little bit more usable. Did everyone see where I got that? Okay, once again, we're in the form, which is now called converter. If you scroll, there's a size option. And then you just have to change it. So I changed mine to 400 by 300. So what's the first thing that we should be doing now? Oh, okay, what I'm going to get to you, get to what you were saying, but I'm going to do one step before that, just because I want to get the pseudocode in, because all the method is going to be taking place in the button.
And you can also manipulate it through like the visual.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to change the name of the button to BTN calculate. Then I'm going to put, for the actual text, I'm going to put calculate. Okay, so the actual name is BTN calculate, and the text is calculate. And then we double click on the calculate button, which will take us to the code. Now what it does is by double clicking, it opens up the method. And here is where we can now paste in our pseudocode.
And double clicking on the converter
Button. Yeah, we'll open it up.
You named from what? BTN what?
No, BTN calculate. Always remember to try to be descriptive with whatever you're titling it. And then, so I've dropped in the pseudocode, but it really doesn't like what I've done. Why?
You didn't put double slashes to tell that we're just talking to ourselves.
Okay, talking to ourselves. All right, so now all of a sudden, now it's starting to turn green.
Then we use the comment, right?
Yeah. Okay. So we've got all these things in there. So input in Celsius, etc. So now we can go back to the form and start dropping in the elements. So let's go back to the form, which it should be the tab that says form1.cs design. And there we are there. So the first thing we're going to drop in is a text box.
Okay, the pseudocode you just copy pasted from Word.
Yeah. So there's the text box. So I'm going to call the text box. Does everyone remember what the first three letters are for a text box? TXT. And I'm going to put TXT input. Yeah.
And what was the name again?
I called it TXT input. Okay, so we've got the text box in, and then we're going to drop in a label. And we're going to rename it, and that's of course LBL. And I'm going to call it LBL output.
What was the text box name?
TXT input. So LBL output, and then I'm going to clear the text on it. So this is where we're sitting. So is this good? We've got all the elements that we need? No, what are we missing? Are you guessing? Or? Oh, labels for the output message. I've already added the label in there. But we are missing. Yeah. Exactly. Always assume that your end user doesn't know what they're doing, or they will inevitably break it until we get to the validation section. Just try to steer them as much as possible. So let's add in another label. I'm going to put it at the top. Now, this is an instructional label. Do we need to change the title of the instructional labels? We do? This is where I'm going to say if you submit an assignment where the instructional labels aren't changed, that's okay, because we're really not manipulating that code at all. Okay, but will it help you? Absolutely, because when you type in LBL, it's going to pull up all of your labels. So I'm going to leave that one to your discretion. Okay, I'm not going to change the title, change the name of it, but I am going to change it to enter temperature in Celsius. And if it was spelt correctly, here we go.
But what about the name of the actual element?
That's what I was just saying. It's always a good habit to get into where you're renaming it. But if it's just an instructional label, you don't need to.
So it's okay if it's label one.
Yep, that's fine. Because you're not using it for anything other than the instructional label. Okay, so now let's go back into our code. So we've got all of our elements written now. That's the fun part. Or at least dropped in there. That's the fun part. Now it's the challenge is the coding.
All right, 1 second before we get on. The first label that you put in there, you just deleted the name and you named it LBL.
LBL input. Or sorry, output. Output for label. Okay, so we want to input in Celsius. So what would we put in there for a code? All right, let's start with double. We're going to go double, and then we're going to put.
What is double?
You're pulling my leg, right? Okay, I'll assume that you're pulling my leg, and if not, ask me after class. Okay, so double. Then we're going to call it temperature, because that's the input, equals. And then we're going to convert this, and this is where we go convert dot to decimal. This doesn't make sense. We're declaring temperature as a decimal, but we're converting something, sorry, to double, but we're converting it as well. It equals a convert to double. Why? Why wouldn't it just, whatever's in that box, why wouldn't it just work? Emma. Exactly. The text boxes are assumed to be a string. So what we've got to, well, they are a string. So what we've got to do is we've got to take that string and convert it to a double. So we call it, we go convert to double. And then we go the txt input. And then we type in dot text. Okay? So we're there. Excellent. So then what we're going to do is we're going to perform the conversion. Now I'm going to add in a couple additional steps just so that we test the calculation and things along those lines. So rather than going too far into the if statements, let's test it early. And then if it works, then we can add the if statements. So, okay, so convert to Fahrenheit. So what we would do is, and again, we'd go double. And then I'm calling it converted temperature. And that equals convert dot to double. And then we've got our variable of temperature times 1.8. And this is where bedmas comes in, plus 32.
You should go back to this.
Yeah, I will do it this way. Oh, still blocked it. Okay, so that should do it there. Okay, so you see what I've done there? So I've said double, but actually I'm going to change that spelling to convert the converted temperature equals convert to double temperature, which is this variable here, times 1.8 plus 32. That's the formula for getting the conversion. So I'm going to change the spelling again. All right. So now before we go too far, what I want to do is make sure that our calculation is working and make sure that it's correct. So what we're going to do is just type in, go down to the output and type in LBL output. Actually, I think, yeah, that's the name of it. LBL output. dot text equals. Now, okay. So what do I do now? So I want to just do a test. So I'm just going to say your temperature is in the converted temperature. What would I put? What would I type here? Anybody? Actually, I think I might have missed.
You want to change it to a string first?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I was just looking and I jumped over that part. So the first thing that we want to do is change what to a string. So we want to change converted. So I'm going to call this output temp equals convert to string. And then I'm going to call that the converted temperature.
Why did you convert to double again in the line above? It's already a double though, temperature's already a double.
Well, let's try it without converting it.
This temperature's already a double, right?
Yeah. Let's try it.
Oh,
Yeah.
You can take.
Yeah. Either way, both will be successful.
It will, but you're just wasting code, right?
Yeah. And what do we call that? Coat bloat. Code bloat. Coat bloat. Okay. So now we've converted it to string. So now how do we output that to the label? So do I just type in your temperature is? So do I go your temperature? Okay, in quotes. Okay. So let's start with the quotes. Temperature is space inside the quote. Okay. Yeah. Now, would it be converted temperature? Or would we call it output temp? Output temp. Okay. Does it? I've never seen it. Okay. Well, let's try. Okay, so then we want to, rather than like that, you mean? Okay, you know what? The best way to do it is, let's try. Okay, well, yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go converted temperature here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine didn't have a squiggly under it.
So like that? Okay, so let's try. It's not arguing with me. So.
Oh, okay, you just made this string output temp, like top of yourself, that's why.
And I'm just waiting. Oh, there we go. Okay, so let's try. So I know 100 degrees Celsius will be 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Yes. So there we go. So based on that, will my other code work? Yeah, it'll work too. Okay, so I'm going to delete that though. Let's make it so that there's no coat bloat or code bloat. So we know that this works then, correct? We just tested it, everything works. So now we can start adding the if statements. All right, if else. So decision about whether, what do we add? Well, we'd start with an if. Now this is how I've coded it. You might code it differently, and it may work, which is cool. As long as we get the end result, that's the most significant thing. And then we can start changing the length of it. So if, and now it's converted temperature. I spell it wrong? Oh yeah, that would help, wouldn't it? There we go. Converted temperature is less than or equal to 70. And then I've put down label output dot text equals. Okay. So remember that if you want to add spaces, you have to add the spaces within the quotation marks. So I've added the space there, plus it is, I'll put converted temperature plus space form.
Yeah, I think the sign is,
Do I get the sign backwards?
yeah.
Okay. So that would be our that could be our else statement, but we'll just change it to greater to. Or greater than or equal to. Okay. So we good so far? Do you understand what we've done for the formatting? Any of the instructions are within the braces. So we've got the if, and then the braces, and then dropping it into the dropping in the output. So then now you've seen this. So what's the next step?
I missed something.
These two were just these will enclose everything that you want to complete within this if statement. So if this, then this, and you've got to enclose them. Otherwise, it's going to be just part of the other text or the other code. Okay. All right. So our next if statement. Anyone want to take a stab now that you see a? All right. Converted temperature. The nice thing about Visual Studio, if you haven't picked up yet, is that it gives you the code hints. So if converted temperature and wow, okay, let's get rid of that one bracket. Is what did we say? It was greater than or equal to 32, was it? No, it was okay. So this is where we want to go. Oh, okay, there we go. Is less than or equal to 70, if my keyboard will work. Okay. Or not, sorry? Okay, so what did I do wrong? What's going to happen then? Okay, well, that's what the program's going to do. Because if the temperature comes in at 70, it's going to go, I don't know what to do. So you're very right. So how would, what's the easiest way to solve it? Or we can go that route, or we can go get rid of the equal to. Either way. Okay? All right, so what do we want to say? So we want to go LBL output dot text equals is temperature plus okay. So then the only thing left is an else statement then, because we've got if. So if, say for example, the temperature is less than 32, Will this work? If we put an else statement at that point. So if I type in else, label output.text is it's cold. Will it work? Yeah, I'm gonna let no. Okay, Emma, why not?
Less than 70, all of the other numbers.
Exactly. So here I would have to go, the way that I've coded it, I'm just going to add the extra if statement, and I know that there are other ways. We're going to go converted temperature is less than or equal to 32. And then we're going to do the label output. I'm going to drag that across. So this line here is barking at me because I didn't put the semicolon in. Make sure your semicolons are in. And there we go. Now I'm also going to comment this one line out because it's additional or extra, superfluous. Let's run it and see what happens. Oh. There we go. Okay. So 100. So it says it's 212, it's warm. So let's say 20 degrees. It's 68, it's cool. Oh, okay, so I didn't add an extra space. That's okay, that's easy to fix. And -1 is it's cold. So we've got this. I'm going to add the spaces because otherwise it's not going to function correctly. Well, it's going to function correctly, but it's not going to look right. Okay, now we can start doing more things. Okay, we can have a little bit of fun with the code. So we can, what else can we do? Yep, yep, absolutely. Sorry. That should be all of it right there. So what else can we do with this? So one of the things that we can do, and I'll leave this one to you guys to try to do on your own first, is I'd like to change the button from what it is. If it's warm, it's red. When it's cool, it's light blue. And when it's cold, turn it dark blue. The button itself. All right, so I'll give you a couple minutes to work on that. You're looking perplexed. We'll take it up. So if you really have no idea, then we'll take it up. Yeah.
See if it works. Did I break shit?
Okay, well, first off, you've got something that's very unhappy. It looks like there's no posing on your temperature. So click on there and then return. And add another break. Closing break. Oh, wait, no, you deleted another one too, so let's space. No, you deleted them. So just, yeah, because this is a comment, this doesn't matter at that point. Okay, now try. Oh, no, one more. There you go. So now, and that should work. That's probably why I did it in my output. Now I lost my output. Okay. Does anyone have any ideas on how to turn that button red if it's warm? Yeah.
So the button calculate, you can keep your greater than equals to seven,
Yeah.
then you would change the background.
Okay, so how would you do that then?
So, well, I'm not over there yet, but.
Okay, so you've got the logic.
You would use an if statement.
You'd use an if? Do you need to use an if statement? An additional if?
You could.
You could, but would that be code bloat? Code bloat?
Yes, so yes.
Stephen?
Just have to change the button one dot back.
Okay, so we do, now would we add it
Right after like,
after
yeah,
or
you-
before?
yeah, doesn't matter.
All right.
As long as it's after it's inside the-
Okay, so you want to enclose it within the braces. So let's change that so that it's, and I think we call that this BTN calculate. And then we would go dot back color equals, yeah. And I think we said it was going to be red. Okay, so based on that, then I'm going to, because my computer takes so long to test, I'm going to add the BTNs as well. So we're going to add the colors in, dot back color. Equals color dot. We wanted light blue, semicolon. Calculate color equals color dot. And we're going to call that one dark blue. Okay, so by rights, when we run this then, depending on what the temperature says, it's going to change the color of our button appropriately. So let's go start. And I'll go for a walk. Wow, does this ever take a while? Okay, so let's run it. So enter the temperature in Celsius. So we know that 100 degrees equals hot, and it turns it red now. So let's turn this one now to 20. So by rights, that should turn it light blue. And then cold, -1. And it's dark blue. So what we can now do as well, based on this, is we can add a little bit more logic there that says, if it's less than, you can turn the font as well on the button yellow. So let's go in and try that. So we know that the button calculate dot back color red. What would be the font color? You'd think so, wouldn't you? That's not the one I found. Okay, so BTN.
I still doesn't have the word, it is, the temperature's converted, and it doesn't say it's cool.
Okay.
Comment out that part of your code. I have the same problem. Like where it says your temperature is, comment that out and just have the if statements.
So we're going to run the, okay, so we're trying to change the color. So what would be the code for color? Yeah. 4 color. Why 4 color, do you think, if it's back color? Because it's in layers. Oh, sorry, that's your thunder. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna think of the text is on top.
Exactly, it's in layers. So you've got your background color is red, your foreground color, whatever that element is, will be, and we're going to put it in yellow. So we're going to go 4. As you can see, it's 4 color equals color dot yellow. It is, but again, you've got to think, you've got to suspend what you know, because logically it would be font color. And think in terms of layers, so back and front. Okay. And then we're going to go the same thing here. BTN calculate dot 4 color equals color. And we're going to use a light gray for this one. Let's try it on the next one. All right. Light gray, because I'm trying to think of one to use. And this is the easiest one here. Actually, no, you know what? Let's try here. Hexadecimal, eh? E7, E7, E7. It doesn't like the, no, it doesn't like it. Like that's the hex there, and I'm at, that should be light gray right there.
Mine's in light gray.
No, but what I'm saying is I'm adding in hex code. So let's go back to light gray.
What's the sharp?
I'm sorry, what do I put?
Sharp sign.
Yeah, I've done that.
Oh, the one?
E7, E7, E7. And it doesn't like it. So.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So in the interest of time, so we go light gray, and then we're going to do the BTN calculate. And then we're going to go 4 color equals color dot white. And we'll run that one more time. While that's running, for next week, I'm going to start getting you guys using GitHub. Have you guys had a chance yet? Has any of your instructors asked you to get GitHub? Okay. So if you can get an account through GitHub, and if you've already got one, get a separate one for Georgian, just to keep everything separate. So all you have to do is go to github.com, I believe it is, and register for an account. That's all you need to do for next class. Yeah.
So if you want to use a hex color, you have to convert it from hex to a color.
Oh, okay. So it's a lot of extra steps then.
Yeah, you just use
Okay, so Stephen looked up that you can in fact use a hex code, which is okay. So by converting it, okay. So my first gut reaction is, I'm going to put on instructor hat and go, well, you know what, this is easier. But now I'm going to take that off and put the designer hat on and go, okay, that's really significant if you're dealing with a company's PMS color. So there's a call for it in this classroom. Not really. You might need it going forward. So yes, you can do it by converting it. Yes. All right. So 100. Let's calculate it, and it should turn yellow. The font turns yellow. That should turn light gray. Boy, did that ever turn light gray? And then -1. Okay, so there you go. That's where we're going to stop for today. Now, I think if you step back and look at what we've done today, you're going to start seeing where you can do your assignment. If you've already submitted your assignment, thank you very much for your speed. I will give you another opportunity. If you want to utilize some of this code, have at it. If you want to try having some fun with it, go for it. Okay? Yes. Yep. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
And now we have 45 minutes to get to the library.
Okay.
It's run out. Last week we had that's interesting.
Your code is put over city. It could be above. Try closing the gap between the yeah. Then it's just above. but it does work. Yes. Like that would be perfectly functional. Yes.
Okay, so when I hit start,
yeah,
it doesn't actually, like if I type in 100, it doesn't turn yellow. Like it just doesn't do anything, and it doesn't space the things.
Okay, so let's go to your code.
I don't even think I've inserted the yellow yet.
Okay, so you haven't added the space after the question mark or quotation mark. So you have to force the space, and that will give you the extra. Yeah, you got to stop running it. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Now that'll give you the space.
And the second one, right?
Yep.
So all those.
Four color, gray. Okay, the reason that it's not changing it to yellow on you right there is because you're calling for it to be dark gray. It should be yellow.
Oh, that you said dark gray.
So if you just type in yellow, that would work.
Okay, so then I should run it again?
Yep, just give it a shot. Wow, yours goes fast.
Yeah, it's a new computer.
There you go.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem. Who was next, Emma or?
I just have
Yes.
a really quick question.
Really quick
Simon,
answer.
you said we don't need to do a UML, but it says on the thing, object models, that something different?
You'd be right. I want to do one
It's
thing
like
though.
on the front page.
Oh yeah, it is there, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, I mentioned that there was no object diagram. I'm sorry, I went past it when we went through it. There is an object diagram required, okay? And it's on the rubric. So if you haven't included an object, sorry, UML, yeah. So if you haven't included one, please do so. Okay. Yes.
I'm just
Thanks,
saying,
Emma.
like this one error down here, like when I go to start it, my error is down here, but I just don't know why that's like.
Okay, just give me one quick second. Oh no, you've got a code question as well? Okay. All right, so it's not liking this because you've enclosed that in a brace. So delete that brace.
I kept saying like down there, private, not valid too, but I don't know if I moved it.
Okay, go up here. Oh, no, okay. Yeah, go up here and add one more brace.
Just up here?
Yeah, and just. There you go. Well, it's still not liking this. I would just comment that out. You don't need it anymore.
Okay.
And that should let you run it. Okay, scroll back up. Let's see if there's any other errors. Okay, actually, see that red box? Just click on there. That'll tell us where the error is. Oh, actually, there it is right there. Yeah, so kill off those two braces. The ones that I had you add. Okay, that should do it.
Stay.
Oh, come on.
Honestly.
Okay, scroll up to the. Okay, so.
I just left mine as like LBL1 and then like button 1.
Okay, now is it capitalized or is it lowercase, your title?
It's like capitalized.
Oh, okay. Right. You won't do that in your assignment, yeah. But does not contain a definition for text box. Are you sure that you didn't call it, so text box 1?
I called all those like LBL1 texts.
So this one here, right here, did you call it TXT input? Or did you call it text box 1?
Oh, I think I called it like text box 1.
Yeah, so that's what your problem is, and it's probably going, I can't find that. All right, yes, sir.
I have a problem.
Ready?
I think it's lit. Oh, wait. No.
Okay, so the problem is the label up there. Try commenting out that one. That should get rid of the error on private. There you go. Now try like left, maybe it's try right.
Yeah, totally, but like.
Yeah. System format. And the title is text input, for sure? For your text box?
The text box, yeah.
That's what it is.
Can I do that with, oh no, I have to.
Yeah, you have to stop it, then you can just go into your properties and you should be able to change it. Because it's looking for
It's really like glitchy, finicky, not really letting me like click on it.
Well,
Should
it's probably something to do with your scaling. That's what the error is throwing.
I should make it smaller. I can't really. Oh, I can select it. Text, yeah, so it says TXT input, right? And that's the one.
Yeah, oh, actually, no, see how yours is lowercase? And you're calling for it to be uppercase.
Oh, is the I